capitalist experiment has failed. Democracy is an illusion, and freedom is overrated. Clearly, we need a return to what works. A return to medieval feudalism. Why bother having rights and dreams when the people yearn for the certainty of serfdom? Think about it. Would you rather sit alone in an office cubicle or enjoy work outdoors surrounded by friends and family? That is why today I am conducting a highly scientific social experiment to prove that a civilization powered by unpaid labor is the way forward. This is Rimworld. Technically a colony builder, but more of a collection of tests to see if you, the player, will in fact amputate a man's limbs to sell on the black market. Our journey begins with a collection of starting colonists. First we have Percival Ironvale, and this whole thing was his idea. Addicted to violence, he is literally incapable of labor of any kind and takes a sick pleasure from death. Then we have his serfs, stolen from his father when he was kicked out of the family home. Minecraft Steve can craft, Bob the Builder can build, and Gordon Ramsay can cook. But they have zero skills in literally anything else, something that is going to haunt me. To round out the group, we have Jafar Not Suspicious, who Percival simply calls Regent. A bastard child that was ordered to go with Percival, she's the brains of the whole operation. We also have our ideology, serfdom, and our god Feudalism. We'll be attempting to convert everyone around us to our faith. Whilst we are going to be limited to medieval technology, everyone else will have modern tech, meaning we'll be literally bringing a billhook to a gunfight. My aim is to survive at least a year and set up a flourishing colony under the perfect feudal system. Our starting gear contains some Molotov cocktails, a few weapons, some medicine, and a ton of pemmican. Is Gordon Ramsay crying?
Where's the lamb sauce?
To go with our colonists, we have Champion, Percival's Labrador, Alpha, Steve's Husky, and Devil the Cat. He doesn't actually belong to anyone and tends to speak in tongues, but Regent doesn't have anyone else to talk to. As we've just landed, if we don't immediately secure shelter, we will all freeze to death. But more importantly, Percival wants an impressive bedroom. So first things first, we set out plans for 2 rooms, one for the Lord and one for the others. Comforted by the sounds of the serfs hard at work chopping wood for the housing, Percival then goes on a pleasant hunt, and to explore the local area. He spots several battlefield remains that may or may not be a cursed ancient burial site. I'm sure it'll be fine. Bob is hard at work building, but there's a problem. Whilst each serf may be spectacular in their speciality, Percival has forgotten to bring along anyone skilled at plants, so chopping wood takes a really long time. This is even worse when I realize that to eat food, we need crops, and not a single person in this camp knows how plants work. We have no one good at this. They will learn over time, but they keep botching putting seeds in the ground, so there's every chance we'll starve before then. There are 2 solutions to this. The first is night shifts with all hands on deck. Aside from Percival, of course, he gets a little bit eepy. And the second is to strictly control food rations. Aside from Lord Ironvale, of course. He will need his food if he's going to grow up to be a big, strong man like his mother says he will. But as night falls, not everyone is happy. On day 2, Gordon sets about preparing the various animals that Percival brings home and turning them into food.
Finally, some good fucking food.
At some point, we will have to worry about winter, so we set up a tanning rack. This will create leather, but it does need fuel. Fortunately, Gordon is happy to provide. After a few days, Steve has made enough timber for Builder to create some actual furniture, including giving Percival a masterwork chair symbolizing murder. It's engraved with a depiction of Percival brutally knocking unconscious a raccoon. The work seems to symbolize murder, which I'm sure is just a nice gesture and not referencing the time Percival orphaned him because Builder's parents looked at him funny. We are then visited by Jax, a cave builder who happens to be a cannibal. I noticed that he was dripped out of his mind, and I asked how he managed it. And that's when he told me about the sponsor of today's video, FreeCash. FreeCash is an online platform where you can earn money by playing mobile games, taking surveys, and more. Trusted by many, FreeCash is a fun way to earn a little on the side. Picture this. You're waiting for the train and you live in England, so you're going to be sat there a while. You sign up for FreeCash like I've just done super easily, and you download a game that looks like a bit of fun. Here I've messed around with dice streams and enjoyed killing time. Instead of playing on your phone for nothing, you could have been earning money. I mean, look at what I've just done in a couple of minutes of using the site. In fact, if you scan the QR code on screen now, you even get a $10 sign-up bonus. This is great if you enjoy mobile games anyway, especially if you're up for in-app purchases, which you can get cashback for in FreeCash. It's simple economics, mate. There are a bunch of different offers, and once you're ready, cashing out is super easy. Whether it's a bank transfer, PayPal, or crypto, it's as simple as clicking on the method and withdrawing the money you just made from playing video games. If you're interested, scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the description to get a $10 bonus today. Thanks again to FreeCash for sponsoring this video. We've been here for a couple of days and I had been wondering why we weren't getting any guests. In Rimworld, every so often you should be visited. Then I checked around the map and saw these hives. What is that? A hive. That doesn't look good. I had no clue what these were, but I soon found out. Oh my god! The hell is a death stinger? Run! Don't stop running! Alright, you're gonna have to fight back, mate. Do him in! Come on, Percival. Percival has received numerous stings, and as it turns out, he's allergic to massive amounts of poison coursing through his veins, so he will die in 2 hours. Fortunately, Regent is there to patch him up. But with Percival out of action for a bit, our main food source is gone. The crops took a very, very long time to sow, and the rest of the colony combined can barely handle a squirrel. Our starting pemmican has now run out, leaving us on the brink of starvation. Very fortunately, however, the dying guest had bread with him, so we stay off the hunger for a bit longer. Eventually, he generously dies, giving us the ability to take his skull. This is a surprise tool that will help us later. Steve puts on his gear, but he's not happy about it. It turns out those death stingers produce jelly that we've been stealing after Percival wiped them out, but now they're back and we probably shouldn't try going for their food. Run, Gordon, run! As a child named Nestorius crash lands near us, my first thought is that he's probably got some sweets that we could steal from him. Easy, like stealing candy from a baby. But then it hit me. That's not chivalrous. That's not why Percival left his father's house to be a knight. We need to heal this child. Protect him. Oh, he picked himself up. Bye. Just as Percival is out of bed and hunting, we hear this noise. A raider has come to put an end to our social experiment. The game has been screaming at me to build defenses, but I say I already have some. Oh, Ooh, that's a rough way to die. We have an uneasy truce with the Death Stingers, as they'll protect us from anyone invading and also try to kill us if we get close. It's as much of a truce as a child has with their alcoholic stepdad, but it's as good as it gets for now. Pretty soon, a heat wave hits us, meaning outdoors it's hitting 36 degrees Celsius, an unbearable temperature. Wait, that's colder than it was 2 days here. That's colder than it is in my office right now. Don't complain, Steve. You've got it easy. Despite the heat, Regent, who is the only member with a functioning brain, has been busy researching. He's managed to figure out basic woodworking, as well as get started with basic agriculture. Eventually, we'll want to move on to advanced techs like smelting, but for now, figuring out the plow will do. When we're prompted to give our faction a name, we choose the Ironvale dynasty, hailing from Fort Percival, named after the most humble of men. Some new guests come to visit to congratulate us on this achievement, but they're stopped by the doorman. Oh, they're not gonna be sleep. Oh my god. Are they gonna be alright? Look, I'm not saying that guests dying is necessarily a good thing, but we are low on food, and now there happens to be some on the ground. The visitors actually managed to clear out this hive, leaving it free for us to make a dash for the jelly. Unfortunately for them, though, there's more than one hive. Oh my god. It's happening again. They got Sammy. Oh, it's food. Quick, grab that. In fact, there's 3. I wouldn't go that way. I really would not go that way. I really wouldn't go that way. God, these death stingers are insane, man. Still, I do feel a bit bad, so we end up rescuing Sammy. This is out of the goodness of my heart, and not because I wanted to level up Regent's medical skill to help us out when one of us gets injured. However, all of this drama combined with a 50-degree heatwave is starting to take its toll. Each pawn has a mood meter, and with the fact that it's hot, he's wearing a dead man's clothing, and he's got no underwear on, means Builder is close to a mental breakdown. Eventually, he snaps and flies into a tantrum, smashing up the place. Still, once it's out of his system, he is feeling a lot better. This is in part due to the knowledge that things can always be worse, as evidenced by these 3 drifters looking for help. Sir, Bear, and MJ come wandering in, and it's not much of a surprise what happens next. Your buddy's definitely dead. We've been really struggling to even harvest berries and mushrooms, and long term I'm going to need someone to tame animals, which is why Bear has caught my eye. As a misogynist, she'll fit right in with feudalism. We send in Percival to arrest Bear, creating a new class on the social pyramid, a slave. He grabs her and puts her in the slave quarters the builder has just finished putting together. From here we can pick this enslave option. This is a complex process requiring a pawn to slowly break their will. Percival has just instantly broken her will. This is actually perfect as the rice is ready for harvest, and we need people to pick up Percival's kills. In a stunning example of peak feudalism, Percival stops Bear mid-task to remind her she's a slave. With basic agriculture behind us, we can now research ploughed soil, allowing us to plough the ground to increase yield. A little side note, all Steve has been doing all day, every day is converting wood into planks. He does this in this tiny little crafting spot here. But I've just built this. This is a wooden trestle, and it means we can make timber so much faster. With Steve freed up a bit, we can now look to use him more effectively, like creating nicer clothes for Percival. In the meantime, Sammy has disappeared. I think he may have been eaten by one of the animals, but I can't really be sure. And speaking of eating, I'm gonna have some strawberries. Love strawberries. Don't put this in the video, yeah, because this is ASMR. This is good stuff. Go on Patreon if you want the ASMR. It's time to begin to advance our faith and beliefs, so Builder sets up a lectern and decorates it with Jax's skull. Lovely. We currently have 2 roles to fill. The first is Converter of Feud, our holy man, which Regent quickly volunteers for because she's so nice. The second is Divine Cheese, the default RimWorld option here, reading like a millennial punchline from 2012. Haha, banana for scale, lolcats are great.
No, oh my god, young man, kill yourself!
We confirm the ritual, and a holy light bathes the area. The crowd gathers, and his subjects declare Percival as the head of the dynasty. A short 2 hours later, and the ritual ends. Immediately after is another very short 2-hour ritual to confirm Regent as the Converter of Feud. However, a neighboring dynasty hears about the new threat, and House Hess launches a raid to stop us. Oh, he's got armor. Oh no, that's not good. Ah, that's really not good. That's not good. That's not good. Percival rouses himself and collects his bow, ready to defend Fort Percival. Wait a second. They're going this way. All right, oh, you know what? I'm not even gonna bother. The bees! The raiders defeat the bees, and Percival has to fend them off. A task made much easier by the liters of venom coursing through their veins. Nice. Nice. It's good stuff. Have him. Have him. Nice. Next one. Finish him off, son. Bang. He may desire an impressive bedroom, but nothing makes Percival more happy than violent slaughter. Well, maybe a little bit of slavery. With these recent spoils, we now need an extension to the storage space. On top of this, Regent has been demanding a place to work away from the riffraff, and so we move him into a new building. He can now work on figuring out basic cooking, giving us access to spices. However, Bob is a true English patriot, and the mere mention of spice in his food is devastating to his psyche, putting him into a psychotic state. Builder! Stop wandering towards the bees! Why has he picked up some honey? And from there, he tries to kill himself. Builder, run! He's down! Fortunately, Percival beats the Death Stinger to death and rescues Builder. Well, he called Bear to rescue Builder, which is basically the same thing. Things are beginning to get truly desperate, however, as we have more than one case of starvation on our hands. So desperate, in fact, that the animals are starting to eat the corpses, and they're not the only ones. No, Gordon, don't do that! Oh, God, Gordon! Oh, it's raw, Gordon! No, Regent, don't. I don't want to see where this is going. Regent, I know times are tough. You're feeding it to Builder! Oh, God! I should clarify that the Serfs are starving. Percival and Regent are fine, with Percival even having an inspiration thanks to his good mood. Still, we do need to find some more food. So when a message comes in saying that Yuko is being held as a prisoner in a camp, it sounds like there'll be food there. After all, they have to feed us somehow. I guess rescuing people and all that is noble, but either way, we are coming home with a food source. Off Percival goes into the wilds, and after a while, he needs to settle in a camp. He runs and beats an elk to death, but something strange happens. It doesn't magically turn into food. That's right, because he's a lord, he cannot do any labor tasks at all, including cooking, meaning he'll starve to death if we don't go straight to the prison camp. Back at camp, Regent is in charge and orders the collection of rice from the fields. Rice, whilst fast growing, isn't the best, so we plant additional crops close by. A griffin wanders in and they look super cool, so we go to tame them, only to find out that there's an 80% chance of attack on a failed attempt. Never mind then. We're also just going to ignore this ancient troll and hope it goes away, because what do you expect Regent to do about that? In the dead of night, Percival then enters the prison camp. We've been told there should only be one person here, and whilst that's true, that's not the only danger. The turret has a good amount of range and will shoot us on sight. Lilith attempts to defend the camp, but she's quickly taken care of. And more importantly, she drops some food. Percival breaks into the house to try to find the prisoner. Just taking a second, that's a lot of people in cages. There's like 6 or 7 outside and 2 inside where she sleeps, meaning this place rivals the smell of a Twitch streamer's bedroom. We undraft Percival and he immediately, unconcerned, takes a nap on the floor. There's a perfectly good bed there, but sure, sleep on the stone floor. When he was born, Percival was declared as a medical marvel. This is because of a tiny, tiny brain that rattles around in his skull. Some would describe him as driven purely by base animal instinct. He wakes up in the morning, decides he's hungry, and walks over to the food, and then decides the best place to eat it is in full view of the turret. You idiot! You got shot in the head! Most people would instantly drop dead if shot in the head by a turret, but fortunately Percival's brain is so small that the bullet went straight through his skull without hitting it. He knows enough to stick the funny leaves in the wound, and he's right as rain. Demonstrating his rejection and disdain for modern technology, he takes out the solar panel, and then the battery, before moving on to the shooty stick that made head hurt. I really couldn't figure out where this Yuko prisoner was, so we set to taking every single body out of each cage to check their identity. She was in none of these, and after a day of scanning around, I finally spotted another structure. Percival then breaks down the door to uncover Yuko, and apparently this angers some sort of deity. Hello there. Oh! What was that? Yeah, I'm definitely betting that Yuko is a witch. More importantly though, she has lots of food in her cell. As a psychopath that's incapable of violence, she's got a smattering of skills that we can use. We load up on the metals from the rubble and then begin the journey home. We have 2 tanning racks, a crafting table, and now a stonecutter's block. As it's open to the elements, our little crafting spot is suffering from penalties. We need a building, but everything I do in this game is a boring square, so I decide to try to get fancy with it and build a circle. The issue is I'm not a naturally gifted architect. I can never get that right. I can never... Oh my god, I didn't think it would be this hard. Still, the resulting area is nicer than the outdoors. Given we're constantly suffering from food poisoning as we cook in the piss-covered common room, I thought it prudent to build a dedicated food storage and preparation area. I even equip it with an all-new limestone oven. But just as things are looking up, we hear a screech. Devil the cat has been mauled to death by a hyena. Now, he may have been the literal incarnation of the devil, but he was our cat. And so, when Percival returns home to see the corpse, he flies into a rage. Once he's done, he goes out and murders a hyena in the rice fields. Oh, you thought that was the same hyena as earlier? Well, guess what? You're now a hyena racist. Editor Dan, turn off the screen so they can see their own reflection and study the face of a bigot. A pack of manhunting boomrats appears, and frankly, what are a bunch of rats gonna do? Jesus! Stay indoors. Everyone stay indoors. Oh my god! Well, that's, a thing. On the next day, I placed down flooring for Regent's room because he was getting jealous of Bear's room. A room, which I may remind you, is a windowless cell where the only thing to accompany Bear at night is her tears, but they too leave her as they splash against the packed dirt floor. Look, I didn't say we were the good guys, I said we were doing feudalism. Percival has calmed down a bit and is even playing hoops whilst Builder expands his bedroom. I mean, yeah, he'll die in 24 hours if he leaves his mangled right hand untreated, but he is instead throwing horseshoes at a bit of metal completely off his own accord. Not great timing either, as another raid from the Concord invades. The difference is that these guys have guns. Still, it's going to take more than mere bullets and grenade launchers to kill Percival, as he spears both the men to death and takes their skulls for upcoming ceremonies. However, these raids are only going to get harder, and the bees can only help us so much, so Fort Percival needs a wall. Going around the settlement, we planned the largest project thus far. In the morning, Builder gets to it, as we construct the Great Wall of Devil the Cat, in honor of Devil the Cat, who was killed by a hyena, but we got revenge. However, it was a different hyena. Percival named it himself. The days are beginning to get colder, as our thermometer in the form of Bear getting hypothermia warns us. It's so cold, in fact, that crops begin to fail. In the farming business, this is known as a complete disaster, especially when you look at our food stores. This is live footage of me discovering what seasons are. It is currently Septober, the end of autumn, and it's about to be winter, and we've not made any preparations. In my defense, usually by this point my RimWorld runs have collapsed. How was I supposed to know that this was going to happen? For the winter, we're going to need 2 things, food and clothing. As tailoring has just been researched, it's time for Steve to begin crafting some clothing. On the food front, for now we can buy pemmican from traders, selling everything else we own that they'll buy, like a homeless man that's just robbed a pharmacy. Don't worry though, Percival has a plan to survive the winter, and by that I mean he's demanding a larger bedroom because he's realised that Regent commissioned a bigger one. As work is ongoing in his new living area, Percival ventures out to hunt every living creature on the map, leaving Bear to brave the bees for the jelly. In his new throne room, we have a bedroom, a privacy screen, a barrel of water, a hearth for people to gather in front of, and some sort of game. It's so impressive, in fact, that Regent is catatonic with jealousy. This is why he accepts a quest to take care of 2 prisoners in return for a psychic insanity lance. You might question why at a time of food insecurity we are bringing in more mouths to feed, but it's simple. I don't plan on feeding them. It's now been a month in the wilderness trying to live out Percival's dreams, so let's see how our colony's skills have progressed. Percival has predictably learnt nothing at all. The hours slaving away in the fields have bumped up Builder's plant skill to 3. Gordon has actually sparked a passion for plants, but all the food poisoning has meant his Michelin star has been taken away. Steve, to be fair, has just been turning logs into timber for pretty much the entire time, so it's not surprising he's learnt nothing. And Regent has become dumber after watching his fellow man struggle to hold a basic conversation. He's hoping for some more stimulating conversation from the muffalo that's just self-tamed. The problem with this event is that we don't actually have anywhere to keep it. This pen is for the 1 turkey that Bear has managed to tame. Things are looking bad, but Percival steps up to give a speech. He speaks of banding together in these tough times, of his lifelong dream, how he remembers almost all of their names. This was apparently encouraging. We harvest what few crops remain and set Gordon to grind out as much pemmican as we have supplies for. Percival's mild genocide of the local fauna has resulted in a decent stockpile of meat, and this is only added to as a scarier infected pack of foxes turns up, and Percival goes out to fight them one by one. Look, the French think mold on cheese is a delicacy. I'm sure diseased meat works much the same way. As the ground turns to ice and the remaining crops freeze over, winter has officially begun. On the bright side, the lack of agriculture frees up the serfs to make improvements, like expanding the living area and researching textile spinning. The shuttle from the Imperium arrives to pick up the prisoners that, frankly, I'd forgotten about, and it shoots off, leaving behind the psychic insanity lance that a cackling regent picks up. To survive the winter, we have to rely on some random events, like this man hunting doe or this pack of rabid raccoons. Or even Muffalo 1, which sadly has begun to run away, meaning Bear has had to slaughter him, which he does in his sleep. Rest in peace, Muffalo 1. You were the third smartest member of the colony and will be sorely missed. The issue is relying on random chance will only get us so far, so to survive we're going to need to raid for some resources. Close by is a hunting worksite controlled by the nation of Engo. Would you look at all that pemmican? Percival prepares a raid, taking with him his trusty steel billhook, and sets off. This gives Regent control over the colony, as he oversees a leap in technology. First we set down a mining spot next to our charcoal pit. We'll need a place to create metal, and so a limestone furnace is next. We build a dedicated building and can now actually create steel. Admittedly, this is done by mostly clearing the ancient battlefields and melting down their arms and armor, but it is a start. We get word that someone has crash landed as Paolo has lost a fight with gravity. Regent sees him as a kindred spirit and so grabs him and heals him up, hoping for a friend. By now our food supplies are starting to seriously dwindle, and so the only real hope is Percival's raid. He approaches from the south and beelines straight for the hunters. There are two enemies here, so he turns the first into a modern art piece before dodging some arrows and instantly killing the second. However, his once pristine armor is rapidly degrading, which is why we need that smithy up and running sooner rather than later. He then breaks into every structure on the map to loot it and heads home. In the colony, starvation has begun to set in, but the arrival of Percival brings some much needed respite. It also helps that some new animals have wandered in, giving us new animals to hunt, and we can always rely on the hornet jelly. This also gives us a chance to put Steve to work crafting actual arms and armor, with a local steel deposit providing more resources. In a stroke of good fortune, a group of sheep have wandered in, giving us access to wool and milk. We even make them a bigger pen. And speaking of captives, Percival has found out about Paolo, who is then subsequently enslaved by him. And he does have a strange backstory. Huh? What? What is this? What? He invented the nuclear device that powered his ship, also invented the sky and the hamburger. And dreaded dude, they caused the extinction of the dinosaurs on many planets. What? Before long, hearing of his fate, some of Paolo's friends arrive to storm the colony. Steve questions Percival's judgment in this manner, but that's not how serfdom works. This is a large raid, but we've been preparing for something like this. By keeping this gate open, we encourage the raiders to run for the nearest opening. An opening littered with traps. This group leaves behind some useful items like food and hard drugs. Percival even manages to capture the surviving two. You see, Percival is a little sad there's been no executions, but thanks to our faith, we can put down a show. By dropping some weapons, we can have a good old-fashioned ritual fight. We bring in the prisoners, and the fight begins. Fight! He didn't pick up the weapon! Oh, well, you're dead, aren't you? Oh, he's fighting back! Pick up the peeler! My god, he's doing it barehanded. Alright, here we go. Back and forth. Back and forth. Have him, Kasumi. Have it. Oh, careful. Percival's there. I don't think Kasumi's going to go well for this world. Well, that was sudden. And with that, we have ourselves a winner. The fight was so impressive that someone called Lucy joins, which does mean another mouth to feed, but she's more than capable enough to help with the raids. Kasumi, the loser, is rewarded with a quick death. What happened to the winner? I sort of forgot he existed. He will eventually starve to death as object permanence is not my specialty. The traveling merchant gives us access to yet more pemmican, and there's always the animals if we get really desperate. Times have been really tough and we've always been on the brink of starvation, but on the 13th of December, I spot something. No way! Oh my god, winter's ending. Good, because, well, I think all we have left is some hay. The serfs are back in the fields, and we might actually live after all. In fact, the optimism is so high that we even rescue Lydia from some hyenas, which, to be fair, didn't require that much effort. Since holding the lance, Regent has become increasingly odd. even donning the clothes and mannerisms of the Bene Gesserit. You know, that piece of media where the terrorists blowing up refineries in the desert and declaring a galactic jihad are the good guys. Clearing space for the new field, we dismantle the old battlefield, which gives so many resources I really wish I'd done it earlier. But the toil has finally taken its toll on the slaves, as Paolo and Bear rise up in rebellion. One that lasts all of 10 seconds, as Percival injures Paolo and Lucy turns Bear's skull into confetti. Seeing this, Percival is smitten. And after a few days, the first harvest of rice comes in, meaning actual meals for the first time in months. We're even gathering salt to season the food. Selling everything we crafted or scavenged, we purchase an iron crown for Percival. However, looking in storage, I couldn't find it. It turns out the regent had taken it and was wearing it under her robes. A tense moment passes and the rightful lord is then crowned. But a lord needs a proper throne room, so we set to work building one so impressive that the other noble houses are giving us tribute. Finally, the main crop of food comes in. Look at this, we've got rice, we've got food, onions, carrots, herbs, heel root. We've got a little bit of, look how many eggs are there, look at that. Those are tiny little lamb things. They're giving us milk and wool. We can make clothes with those. We've got soft furs. We're smelting things. Oh. Could someone put that out? We have achieved all the aims of a feudalistic society and our own ideology, bar one. Conquest. Our closest neighbor is the colony of Karma, with the Pact of Mikom that has sent countless raids against us. To be clear, we would be going after them had they not done this, but it does give us some sort of moral justification. Percival and Lucy gear up and head out. Once he leaves, however, Regent makes her move, clutching the psychic lance of insanity. Now that things aren't dire, she makes the case to the group that she would be a much better ruler, and she is of noble blood after all. Realistically, she's been the one running the place anyway, joining the serfs in the fields and helping with labor, as opposed to Percival assaulting Steve and generally lazing about. Convinced, the colony names her ruler, and she dismantles the throne room in favor of an altar. She then uses this to further indoctrinate the serfs. An ignorant Percival begins the attack on Karma, but there are way more people here than I anticipated. The important thing here is that none of them actually have guns, meaning we can bait out some of them and take them one by one, getting 2v1s if we're lucky. However, despite their superior weaponry and ability, there are a lot of people here, and eventually Lucy goes down. Percival kills a few more, that 20 in melee doing some heavy lifting, but eventually has to run away. He is chased to the border by most of the colony, at which point Lucy gets up. She is severely injured, but managed to pick off one or two of the stragglers that the morale of the defenders breaks and they straight up run away. Again, odd, as I was trying to get Lucy herself to flee, meaning everyone is running away from everyone. Still, history is written by the victors and the script is written by me. So a stunning victory wipes Karma off the map and we've officially achieved full feudalism. Percival arrives home and is greeted by Regent, who claims to be the rightful ruler. Percival simply responds that, okay, sure, but he'll kill everyone and there's not really much they can do to stop him. And he is right. Let's not forget this group of people has 0 in melee and no experience in a fight. Realizing this, Regent, sick of cleaning up after Percival, of feeding him, and of her life in general, has only one response. No! Oh my god! What? No! Stop fighting each other! Stop it, builder! No! No! Despite the extreme temperatures that sent everyone running, Regent simply stands there, cackling until she keels over. Percival, who somehow survived the flames and 1,000-degree temperatures, crawls towards the fields, which are then set ablaze. Lydia falls and sets the pyre alight, and the death of Steve sends his dog into a frenzy. He immediately begins to hunt down Paolo, who looked like he was going to be the only survivor, having left the burning building in time. Not content with just this slaughter, the dogs then rush into the prison and tear apart Martin. It takes a full day of burning before Percival eventually succumbs to his injuries, the last man standing, his dream of feudalism up in flames. But who was behind all this? Who delivered the psychic lance that drove Regent insane? Who the hell is Pi? What? This is Pi, a social justice warrior. At least this is what I think happened, because I have no idea who Pi is and where he came from. Rimworld, what is this? Who is this guy? And that is how we brought back feudalism and survived our whole year in Rimworld, using serfdom and slavery to build a utopia. Well, a utopia for Percival. It kind of sucks for everyone else. If you want to see more of this kind of content, make sure to like the video and subscribe. It really helps me out.